Word finding problems can happen to the best of us. And if you're feeling embarrassed, frustrated, or incompetent because you struggle to locate the precise words you need for impromptu conversations, this episode is for you. Today, we'll talk about how to develop strong word recall skills so that you can increase your eloquence, especially when speaking at work and under pressure. Now, every week I share executive communication coaching tips here and on my main platform, sarageiger.com. So make sure you subscribe if you want more actionable strategies to plug and play at work to improve your career success. Let's investigate first the science of word retrieval. When you understand how words are stored in the brain, you can easily start to work out a system to improve your access to them. If you've stored the information well and you're accessing it often, it's easier to find the items you need. Just like words, if you store them effectively and access them often and engage with them often, your recall capacity improves. Now just imagine you've collected your words and thrown them deep in the filing cabinet and then never really practiced finding them, retrieving them, and using them. It goes without saying that obviously word recall will be a problem. And that's what happens to most of us in our daily life. We read and find amazingly impactful words. We may listen to a podcast or find a magazine article and we start to store incredible, complex, precise, and impactful words. But if we're not practicing a system and structure for storing, retrieving them, and engaging with them actively, we will fail to use them in our everyday spontaneous communication. As a result, everyday forms of word memory loss often occur because we haven't stored our information well enough in the first place, or we've done nothing to recall those words that we've accumulated. And this is why people with intact memory abilities still wish they could stop forgetting words. Now, factors like stress, fatigue, multitasking, and having too much on your brain can all impact your ability to recall information when you need it. But if you have a tight system to store the words, you'll have much better success. Word finding abilities deteriorate with age, but there are plenty of strategies we can use to minimize word recall issues. So let's get into strategy number 1, which is word retrieval using a semantic strategy. Word retrieval using a semantic strategy is an approach that relies on your ability to find words that have a similar meaning to the word you're trying to remember. For example, let's just say you've forgotten the words executive presence, but if you're using semantic strategies to help, you might be calling upon words in your mind like it's not leadership, charisma, it's kind of like presence, speaking like a boss, executive delivery, strong communicator. All of these words are somehow linked to executive and presence, and using and going through these words may assist you in recalling the missing words that seem to have vanished. Strategy number 2 is word retrieval using a phonological strategy. When we use a phonological strategy, you're working with your brain's ability to remember words by connecting with other words that sound similar. So again, if this time we forget the word elocution, we would start thinking about words that sound similar. Words could sound similar at the start, the middle, or the end, so they might include vocabulary like elevation, eviction, no, that's not it, election, or element. These words are all linked to elocution in your filing cabinet, and those sound similarities can help you retrieve your target word, elocution, if you go through them and find similar sounding words. Eloquent communication relies on strong word recall skills. And when we lose the words we intend to say, they often get replaced with speaking behaviours that reduce our message integrity, impact, and even speaking comfort. The following filler words and sounds can be a sign you need to work on your vocabulary.
Well, I mean, just, the thing is, sort of, like, yeah, you see what I mean?
Filler words like these create a negative impression of the speaker because they interfere with the flow and logic of your message, which can impact the credibility of your message and suggest that you lack preparation. The only way to reduce reliance on your fillers is to work on boosting your vocabulary and put in place structures to assist logical flow. If you want to solve your word-finding problems by building your vocabulary to sound like an industry leader, enroll in my mini course, which will fuel your vocabulary growth fast. I've put a link to the Trello Vocabulary Wonderboard mini course in the comments below. This system will build up your agility to retrieve, recall, and use the words you need for your daily life. Okay, let's get back into our next strategy. So tip number 3 is to apply word retrieval using a lexical strategy. When you use a lexical strategy, this recall method counts on your ability to link the missing word with a different meaning, which can help you find the word you forgot. Imagine you forget the name Simon Sinek. If you want to follow semantic recall, which was our first strategy, then you would be starting to think of things like he's a public speaker, talks about leadership, he's a leadership trainer, he's a leadership expert, oh, he's a famous TED Talk speaker, he's an inspirational speaker. So that would be our first strategy. Our second strategy would be using phonemic recall, and you'd be using words like, it's not Sam, it's not Stephen, it's not Sam, it's Simon, that's it. But if you're using our third strategy, the lexical recall, you might compute something a little more complex to create a strong link between your target words and something that you know a lot about. This is a strategy that many spies use to recall core items and store them in their brain so that they're not writing it down on a piece of paper, exposing themselves to risk. So an example of a lexical word recall strategy could be, Simon says is a kids game I used to play at school, and a sine wave is defined by the function of y sine x, Sinek. This might be an example of how an engineer or scientist might store stronger recall for the name Simon Sinek and arrive at the missing words promptly when they need them. This lexical strategy is also a solid technique for recalling people's names more effectively. Tip of the tongue phenomenon arises in unexpected moments, especially when expressing our ideas in meaningful conversations like job interviews, team meetings, and challenging discussions. Instead of feeling demoralized, small, anxious, or even frustrated with your word recall difficulties, know that there are science-backed strategies that help you retrieve and use all those amazing words buried deep in your beautiful brain so that you can present your ideas as expertly as possible and take the pressure off in the heat of the moment. Remember, effective communication at work is all about overcoming barriers to your impact, and a weak vocabulary can be one of them. I've prepped a blog post with more actionable tips for your vocabulary, as well as some resources which you can find linked in the comments below. I hope you loved this episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and click like. Do you have any questions? Use the comments section below. I read every comment and can't wait to hear from you. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and ciao for now.